So D2l has changed markedly over the winter break. As you've noticed, they've moved things around. What used to be called Dropbox is now called Assignments. You don't have to dig into a Tools menu in order to find it. It's just right up there. There's no more home link, so if you want to go back to the front page of our class, you just click on the class number and it takes us home. First time you load it up, you'll have, a million different things on the front page that you may have to scroll down to actually find our course, but I bet all of y'all have done that by now. So when you're looking at the front page, you can click on Content, and then there's an Overview link. Overview link's got the same introductory message that I posted. So, welcome to 2613. What we will do, you've already read this, we will give a lecture. If you miss the class, you can watch the lecture, over the weekend and catch back up. What? Alrighty. So my name, Jeff Thompson, professor. My office is just right downstairs. You probably walk past me a couple times a day. Feel free to stick your head in and say hi. My office hours, I think I forgot to upload them. I will. I'm here Monday through Thursday. If you need to meet me on Friday, then I'll be glad to make an appointment and come in on Friday. Ain't no big deal. Here's my phone number, and I'm pretty sure I already have had y'all do this in the past, but I wipe out phone numbers between semesters, just so that I don't keep them. So if everybody would be so kind as to send me a text at that number, and just put that this is CIT 2613 and then your name. Don't put the word name. There's always a smart aleck who wants to do that. I'll give you points for humor, but I won't know who you are. So go ahead and blow up my phone. Alrighty, awesome. I got a couple. Good deal. Everybody else do it too. So course information. CID 2613, Advanced Java Programming. We're going to be learning some things that we didn't cover in the first class, which is good news, right? Otherwise, why are you taking it? Delivery method, lectures and online. Pretty much every class is partially online, right? Just about every class uses D2l to post material and stuff like that. But there's an online section of the course running concurrently with this one. So, all of our videos, all of our lectures will be videotaped, and if you miss a day, you can watch it that way. So textbooks. You will need this textbook, the second edition. If you have the first edition, because you bought it and it was cheaper, it's not going to kill you. Just know that if I say this is a quiz over Chapter 7 and the material doesn't look quite right, then figure out what chapter the material is from, because they split one of the chapters into two chapters between version, between the first two editions. So what are we going to learn to do? Write, compile, debug, and run Java programs using advanced concepts such as abstract data types, inheritance, and polymorphism, and graphical user interface development. Now, probably every programming course you've taken up to this time, you spend a week learning about what an integer is, and what a Boolean variable is, and what a string is, and that kind of stuff. So you've already done all that. So we're going to be getting to some good stuff. And we're going to learn to use Netbeans, an industry standard Java development environment, for debugging. And there are other ones you can use. Eclipse is a very, very popular one. It's probably more popular than Netbeans. But, we had to pick one. I went with Netbeans. One of the cool things about Netbeans is it lets you write graphical user interfaces with like buttons and, text fields to fill in and scrolling windows and stuff like that. So we'll absolutely be doing that. Another thing you can do with Netbeans is to do line-by-line debugging, which is when you're trying to figure out what your program does, you set what's known as a breakpoint. It stops there, and then you can watch your program go line by line, checking the values of all the variables. And you'll do that a lot in real life, so we need to, remember to do that occasionally in this class as well. This course requires access to a computer. I trust that everybody either has a home computer or has access to a computer that they will be doing their work on. If you flat out don't have a computer in which you can set up with Java, then you can come and use the ones in the business lab. It's highly advantageous for you to have it on your own machine so that you can work on it late at night, or early in the morning or whenever. If you have it on a laptop, that's perfect. Bring in your laptop. Software, you're going to need Java. You're going to need to install the Java JDK, since I think every one of y'all I have seen in last semester in Java 1, you probably already have all that stuff. The course tools. So you will need the Java Development Kit. And here's a link to one of the versions of it. You can find others, but this is the Netbeans with a Java Development Kit. And so if you haven't already installed it, go ahead and follow that link. We also use D2l, so you need a computer that can get on the internet. All Rose students are given an email account. I think everybody knows how to access their email account. The last page of this document is help on all of this kind of stuff, so if you get stuck, you can always call the IT Help Desk. It's a Gmail account, that way you can set up your phone to read your messages or whatever. So important dates. I don't know why I have this set up as midterm 1 when there's only a midterm, right? We have 2 exams, a midterm and a final exam. Try to do the midterm before the spring break so you can take the spring break with, a clean conscience, not having to worry about, stuff coming up. Grading scale, 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, and so on. 70 is a C, etc. A third of our grade is based on the programming homework. Then the in-class assignments, another third of our grade. And then there are the quizzes and the exams. Each exam is worth 100 points, whereas each quiz is worth 20 points. So if we do 5 chapters and we do 20 points each, then that means that, it takes 5 quizzes to match how important an exam is. But the quizzes are important, even if they're only worth 20% of a full-time exam. You get to retake them over and over until you get as high a grade on them as you want, and they serve as a sample exam. Some students want a sample exam from their instructor so that they study. Well, the quizzes are your sample exam. So you take it, I score it, you turn around later, you take it again. Get a better grade on it, then you feel pretty comfortable taking the exam. So submitting homework. Everything will be submitted through D2l. If you can't get on D2l, you don't need to email me your assignment. If you're worried that it's going to be late because D2l was down, just when you get back to D2l, upload it and say, hey, D2l was down last night. I couldn't get it on. And I'll go, okay, that's fine. So the grading policy, your programs actually must be able to run. That doesn't mean that they need to be perfect, but they must run. They must compile and run. If I get code that won't compile because of syntax errors or the like, you don't get any credit for it. But you get a chance to go ahead and correct it and revise and re-upload for more credit. So my general rule is if you receive only partial credit due to the prior item, you can always revise and resubmit. So if you look at your grade for something and you only got a 70 out of 100 or 50 out of 100 or something like that, I'll always put a reason why, and I'll usually put a comment there that says, please go ahead, you skipped part C, please revise it and do this. Or the program crashed if I typed in 12, so please go and fix that and you'll get more credit. Do that, that's the way the real world works, right? Electronic Arts pushes out a game, players find bugs in it, Electronic Arts publishes the update, with all the fixes in it. Same thing. So here it looks like I've promised y'all a 5% grade bonus for everything that was due on time. I'd meant to start taking that out, but it looks like I'm obligated to do it. I left it in the syllabus. So get your homework done on time. You get a little bit of a bonus. Those can build up over time. You have to get at least 50% of your homework assignments done. Those are different than the lecture assignments, but you better get those done too, right? But anyways, you don't pass the course if you don't have half your programming homework assignments done. Non-negotiable, it's a programming class. You're expected to write programs. I've had people come in and think that they could just attend class and then they can just take the exams and they didn't have to do any homework and pass, and it doesn't work. So the way the class late assignments go, I'm not one of the professors that says things have to be due on time or else you don't get any credit. It's a cutoff at 10% per week, right? Week late's 10% off. Up to 2 weeks late's 20% off. 3 weeks late's 30%, like that. If it's more than a month late, yeah, no credit for that. In-class assignments must be completed within 4 weeks or no credit is given. So if you miss a day, you can go and watch the lecture, but don't blow it off for a month. Penalties for late assignments might be waived if you tell me what's going on, right? I mean, you're pregnant, you're going on TDY, your kid's been sickly and you have been having to take off work, your work hours change. Just let me know what's going on, preferably before the due date, and then we'll talk about it. So I take attendance. Does it count off if you're not here? No. If you're not here, watch the lectures. As a general rule, students who do attend the class and don't miss many days perform better in the course. On the other hand, since some of y'all are taking this as a purely online course, that obviously doesn't apply to you. But in that case, the rule is those who watch the videos and do the assignments do well. This particular here is a federal regulation, not our division or our campuses, which is that if you don't attend a class in the first few weeks of it going, then you're dropped from the rolls of the course, marked as an AW, an absent withdrawal, and if anybody paid you money to come, if you had a grant or whatever, they're going to come and they're going to get that money back from you. So you're legally obligated to have paid for this class that you've missed yourself. So if that's ever going to happen to you, drop the course. Drop the course rather than just don't show up. If you drop it early enough, right, you don't have to pay for it. But if you just don't attend, you do. And you have to do it yourself, even if you had a scholarship or something that was taking care of it. It's 2 weeks for a 16-week class like this, 8 weeks for a 1-week class like this. For the at-home students, participation is not measured by you being here, right? But we'll post a little quiz that all it says is, yes, I am participating in your course, and that will prove that you are in fact participating in the course. So I'll set that up later today. Student expectations. You need to have access to D2l and Java development tools. Check D2l regularly. All due dates are there. You never have to ask me what the due date is unless you look on D2l, and I just mysteriously have left a due date off. And if that's the case, I'm not going to play gotcha. Whoops, well, I didn't put a due date on. Sorry, it's due tomorrow. Instead, tell me that there was no due date, and I'll probably make the due date a week from the day that you tell me. I try not to do that. Do watch the videos or attend class. Do read and use the required text. Sometimes students ask me, can I skip buying the text? And in this particular class, I don't do things like, okay, go answer questions 6.3, 6.4, and 6.5. But the text is very useful, and since I do let you get the first edition to save money, then hopefully there's no reason for you not to get the text. Keep up with the schedule and the due dates. Don't fall behind. If you fall behind, it's hard catching up. Complete your quizzes. It seems like I have that several times. I guess it's really important to keep on schedule. Communicate with the professor. If you're having problems in the course or you're not understanding any of the material, let me know. Don't just fall behind or don't just not do stuff because you don't understand what's going on. Because if you fall behind in the beginning, it's even harder to catch up as time goes by. So remember to ask for help when needed. Text me. Take pictures of your screen. Say, it's not working. Can you take a look at it? And I'll take a look at it. Don't worry about texting me late at night. I'm up till 3 a.m. and I know how to mute my phone anyway. So, for those of y'all who have taken advantage of that before, it's a really fast, good way of getting stuff fixed. For those of y'all who haven't had a professor who would, answer texts and look at your code online like that, well, I hope you find it advantageous for you to do so. This next one, phone, tablets, laptops, etc., will be silent during class. Well, we're all grown-ups. We all know how to behave. Just don't be disruptive. Don't do stuff that's going to distract people behind you. If you're on the first row playing League of Legends, then everybody else is going to be watching you rather than paying attention to me. So, don't put distracting stuff on your screen. You need to check D2l regularly. If I modify the syllabus, I will post an announcement in D2l, and I'll probably email it, and I will mention it in class. All three of those things. I'm not going to try to sneak changes into the syllabus behind you. I will grade homework within a week of submission. If there are errors in it, you won't get full credit, but you can revise and get more credit that way. If you email me, I try to get back to you within a day. On the weekend, it might slide a little bit, but if you text me, I get back to you really quickly, I hope people have found. And it's okay to send me email, and then if you're getting, antsy, wondering why I haven't responded yet, text me, say, hey, I sent you email. So what can you expect from me? I better provide clear instructions for the assignments. How can you do the work if I'm not clear in my assignments? If there are questions you have over it, that means that I probably didn't write it well, and I'm going to need to revise it and re-upload it, post a notice for other people to understand. So never think that, oh, it's just me, I don't understand. If you're stymied because you don't understand what I'm asking, please ask for clarification. That comes into this next one. I should answer questions regarding assignments. Yeah, ask me in person, email, phone, text, I'll get back to you. I'll make sure that you understand. And if you have a laptop, it's totally cool to come by my office and we sit there and we work on this stuff together. I will always give you at least a week's notice. I'll never say, okay, I want y'all to have this done by Monday, or whatever, and today's Thursday. That's less than a week. I'm not going to do that. And 2 weeks notice of the exams. The date for the final and the date for the, the midterm are already in the syllabus, I believe. If they are going to change, I will certainly let y'all know so that you're not left hanging. One thing about these exams that I need to mention, I don't recall if I posted this on the first page or not, but since we're only meeting 1 day a week rather than 2, I don't want to take up an entire week for y'all to take any exam. So y'all are going to need to take the exams at the Learning Resource Center. Or if you feel like it, you could sign up with the proctoring service. Proctoring service is what you online students are going to do. You have that choice as well. You can do the proctoring service or you can take it at the testing center. So that little bit of change there where I said I'm not going to be doing it this way would have applied to the in-class students. Just be willing to go down to the LRC. That means you get to kind of schedule it at your, at your convenience. And if you don't want to come and take it on campus, you can sign up with a proctoring service. And I'll post the notice for that.
On the exams, I remember for Java 1 and stuff, you let us use the PowerPoint at one time, and you also let us use notes that you used.
Right. So if you're taking at the LRC or if you're taking a proctored exam, I get to put rules in there about what you get to use.
Yeah.
So the rules are anything that's posted to D2l's fair game. So you can get your PowerPoints, if you've uploaded notes to your locker, you can get to them that way. I let people bring in their written notes. Okay. The only thing is that the people who get to take it at home get to use Netbeans itself, whereas at the Learning Resource Center, they don't have Netbeans. But as you remember from my Java 1 course, I don't ask, for code that's so complicated that you actually have to pull out Netbeans and do it.
Right.
So. And the other complication is that if you have a Kindle, they don't let you bring a Kindle into the LRC.
Yeah.
So academic integrity, we can sum that up. Don't cheat. Okay, now that's silly. Basically, you just need to make sure that your work that you do is your own. You can't collaborate with somebody else on work. You can't find a student who took my class, last semester and get their papers and hope that they still work, or that kind of thing. When we're sitting in class, it's totally cool if y'all are helping each other through the tutorials, but at home you need to be doing your own work, and if you're stuck, you need to be asking me rather than, your wife, your husband, your kid who knows all this stuff. Ask me, you'll learn more. If you get stuck on a programming concept, you can always go hit Google. It'll probably take you to a site called Stack Overflow. They seem to be the premier site, for programmers to talk. You can find really good information there, but don't copy what you see there, paste it into your code. Instead, absorb, learn it, and put it into your code. Just like writing an English paper. You can't copy, a page out of a book and paste it into your, your English paper. If you do that, you better darn well have better cited. So, I can usually tell when that's happened, when code is taken off the internet, because it's usually written by somebody who's, a PhD in programming or has 10 years of experience, and it's going to look different than the other stuff you turned in. So it is not good news if that happens. The very least that will happen is that you'll get an F on the assignment. Also, notification will be sent to the division dean and to the director of student conduct. And the reason for that is it used to be that, I would catch somebody doing it, and then I would say, okay, well, this is a first-time offense. I'm not going to tell anybody. And then you'd go on and you do it in another class, and you do it in another class. You might get away with it sometimes, you might not. Anyways, now all the information goes to a central location so that the first time it happens, Then the second time it becomes a pattern. And, at that point, anyways, you can get an F on the assignment, you can fail the class, you can be expelled from the college, So, bad idea. Free personal counseling. I've had students with, PTSD, they're dealing with stuff, they were in the military, or, there's problems going on in their life, personal problems, emotional difficulties, trauma, grief, substance abuse, all of that kind of stuff. You can get help. You don't have to go pay somebody $100 an hour in order to talk, about counseling. So instead, give them a call, visit the webpage, and you can hook yourself up with some help. If you need help with something like you have ADHD or difficulty typing, you have tardive dyskinesia and your hands are, trembling or whatever. If you need extra help, you need extra time taking exams, that kind of thing, go and talk to Student Access Services, formerly the Office of Disability Services. You'll document what you need, and then they'll have you bring me that documentation, and then I have to abide by it. You need extra time for the exams, that's cool. You need to videotape the lectures, totally fine by me. Whatever we need to do. Strongly encourage people to take advantage of that. The Student Success Center. This is new to me. I had never looked up what the Student Success Center was before. But if we look it up, I had the URL in it in my syllabus. I don't see it now. I should put it in there. So, study skills assistance. Connect with campus support resources. Provide academic advice. They have all these workshops. You want to learn about scholarships. You want to learn how to conquer your math anxiety. Plans for graduation, getting organized, dealing with debt, stress management, all that kind of stuff. As we've already mentioned, email is important. I do expect you all to check your email, and unfortunately I can't accept a home email address as something that I can blast up, the notifications to. If I send a notice out from D2l, it will only go to your Rose email address. So you'll need to be checking that. I don't care what email address you write me from, right? And I'll respond to it. But I can't promise, right? I just, from D2l, I can't communicate that way at all. And you know that that's how I send out emails. I make a change, I make, a new announcement, I go into D2l and I say email this to the students, and it's going to come to you through email. Student handbook, if you want to go and read the handbook about withdrawals, incomplete grades, etc. Looks like I missed my little message there about incompletes, but incompletes are only given to people who are passing the course at the point that they need to stop attending. You can't use an incomplete as I'm failing, but I promise I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some of the work. You can sometimes work things out with your professor that, okay, well, can I turn this work in later past, after grades are turned in, and we'll up the grade a little bit? Will that work? And they might say yeah. But as far as incompletes go, you have to be passing at the point where you need to drop. So you can hit the student handbook there. If you need help logging in, well, this is really good stuff, but unfortunately you have to log into D2l in order to find this document. So you might want to write the phone number down, or just remember that you could Google it, whatever. If you're having difficulties logging into the campus network because your password got changed on you or something like that, you call the IT Help Desk. If you can't get on the email, something weird is going on, call the IT Help Desk. 705-733-7356. If D2l is broken, and I use this one too, go to the D2l Help Desk, which is an online thing. They don't do phone, but all you have to do is follow the link, fill it in, your name, your Rose ID, that kind of stuff. And then you can say, having problem, whatever, call me, please call me at whatever, And they get back to you really fast. I sent them a question, and 10 minutes later, yesterday, I had the response. So they're very good about getting back. All right, I think that is the end. Seems like Yeah, okay, we did talk about that. Third of the grade is the programs I assign, the third of the grade is the in-class tutorials, and the third of the grade is the quizzes and the exams. All right, any questions over that fun stuff? Very similar to last semester, right? But lots of people take the advanced course coming in from other schools, so I can't just assume. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're not going to pick up exactly from the second where we left off in the Java 1, in the beginner Java course, because not everybody takes Java with me. So we're going to go back to the chapter about classes, and we're going to describe what a class is. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to do a quick introduction to Netbeans, and we're going to write a little class. What is a class? A class is a collection of data and the methods, the functions that act upon it. So we may as well take some notes. A class is a description of the way that data can be stored. It's a blueprint. Class is a blueprint. You're going to make something from that blueprint. Those are called objects. The class is the blueprint, the house. You could make 100 houses if you have a blueprint for a house. You can make 100 objects if you have a class. So, in our little Netbeans demo today, we're going to work on creating a class called bottle. So what kind of data are we going to store in our bottle? Data is stored in variables. There are two kinds of variables in a class. There are instance variables and class variables. What we want to talk about now are instance variables. Instance variables are the ones that can change on an instance by instance basis. I have one bottle and it's got 3 liters in it. I have another bottle and it's got 2 liters in it. I got another bottle and it's got 4 liters in it. Those are all things that change on an object by object basis. This bottle is blue, this bottle is orange, this bottle is green. All of that stuff is instance variables. Class variables are things that apply to the class as a whole, and I'm going to skip talking about them at this point. So the important one at this point are the instance variables. And then the methods are divvied up in the same way. You have instance methods and class methods. Instance methods are methods that work upon each object. I'm going to fill this bottle. I'm going to empty this bottle. I'm going to paint this bottle blue. So you're working on a specific instance of it. A class method would apply to the bottle class as a whole. And again, that's a bit more nebulous, that's a bit more abstract, and we're going to leave that one out for now. So what can I have in a bottle class that I care about? I'm going to create a bottle class, and what do I care about it? I want to know what color the bottle is, its capacity, and its volume. The volume that it contains. I'm trying to come up with a good way of saying that. Volume it contains, and the volume capacity. So, capacity and current. Volume, how about that? So those are going to be our data elements, and we're going to have methods that act upon those as well. Things like set color. We want to set the color of the glass, of the bottle. Set capacity. Get color. Get capacity. And then maybe we want to fill and a pour, Fill bottle and pour bottle. And then we ought to have a way to get the current volume, right? Get what its currently containing. I'm still not happy calling it volume because, you know, a bottle has the same volume whether it's full or not. Get current volume? That's just way too long. I'm going to leave with get volume for now. Pardon me?
Get liquid maybe? That part doesn't make sense. Okay,
Yeah, it could be a bottle of air, but yeah, I'm assuming.
get liquid is what.
Yeah.
If you want. More volume.
I'm going to leave a volume, but I'm not real happy with that. We just understand that the reason I'm not happy with it is because the bottle has a volume, regardless of whether that volume is composed of a mixture of liquid and whatever. Okay, so the way you define a class is with the class keyword. Class, and then we list our variables. And we are going to go ahead and follow the paradigm that this stuff needs to be made private. Our general rule of thumb is data private, methods public. Our variables are private, our methods are public. Those are some of the rules that we follow when we write classes. Rule of thumb, you know, they're not a hard and fast, you know. The programming police don't get to come and arrest you because you didn't make your data private. That's what's known as encapsulation. Encapsulating is making your data private and the methods public, and the reason you do that is so that you can restrict access to that data in such a way that you are sure that that data is valid. You can have your code reject calls to set to invalid values, like set capacity. I'm going to set this bottle so that it holds -1 gallons. What? You can't do that. So, you know, you would write your set capacity method in such a way that it does not allow the data to be set to an invalid value. And the idea of encapsulation means that the way that it is implemented doesn't matter. If behind the scenes you decide that you want your variables to be stored as longs rather than floats, or you want to write it out to disk whenever they call something, you can put all that in there and they don't really know. All they know is that you have these methods that act upon the object. You describe what the methods do and how you want the other programmer to use them, and you're good to go. Now, whenever I say something like this protects the data or this prevents access, we don't mean that we're keeping it safe from hackers. What we're doing is we're establishing rules that other programmers, including ourselves, have to follow in order to modify the data or to use the object. So, I get in the habit of saying, okay, we're protecting the data by doing this or whatever. We're not protecting the data. It's not safe from hackers just because we made a variable private rather than public. But it does mean that it's only our code that can change the value of that, and that it can only be gotten to via a very specific call. And if we write our code well enough, then it's hard for somebody else who's using our class in their own code or coming back to modify ours to mess it up. So we're going to say that we have a string called color. Now I ought to go ahead and actually do all this in Netbeans because I'm just going to wind up typing it in again anyways. So let's go ahead and open Netbeans. Your assignment 0 is to install Netbeans. So in your homework assignments, that is assignment 0, install Netbeans. I think, now that I think about it, it should be capacity and contains. How much it contains. Again, going on the idea that we're talking about liquids. So instead of volume, get contains. That still doesn't sound good. All right, so we're going to make a new project. In other Java courses, you may have used a text editor in order to create your Java programs. We're going to use Netbeans. So we launch Netbeans and we click File, New Project. We select that it's Java and that it's a Java application. We click Next. And it wants a project name. And for these daily assignments, I just generally give them the day that we did it, like January 25. And if we want to give some other descriptor as well, like your name or that this is the bottle project or something like that, you could do that. Down here is a very important one called create main class. Usually we will want that one clicked. That way it'll create a .java file for us and it'll have the words class and everything already in it. There are certain times we won't want to do that. And that's when we're creating graphical user interfaces with the Netbeans form designer. But in this case, we do want to create our own class. I'm going to take that word bottle off. I just want to call mine January 25. I'm going to go ahead and click Finish. Now, just because I've created a class doesn't mean that I'm going to put my bottle in there. This is the driver. It's going to use our bottle. So in this main here, we're going to want to be able to, oh great. Forgive me while I increase the font size. Everything got lost over the break. I want to be able to use my bottle class. I want to be able to type things like this into main. Now this isn't going to work yet because we haven't created the bottle class yet, right? But bottle B is equal to new bottle. So I'm not going to then go and start creating bottle information right inside this class. Instead, I want to create another class called bottle in the same folder. If you look, we have this package statement here. This package statement corresponds with what folder it is stored in. So I'm going to find that folder, Jan 25, and I'm going to right click on it and do new Java class. So I'm going to call this one bottle. And click Finish. Alrighty, now I have those pieces of data. I think I'm going to simplify my concept just a little bit, and we're just going to boil it down to two things. The color of the bottle and the volume that it contains, volume of liquid that it contains. We're not going to set it upper capacity or anything like that. We could, improve upon it later if we so chose. So I'm going to make some variables. These are all instance variables. We know that they are instance variables because they're not defined with a static keyword. So private string color. Private double volume. Then we need to provide getters and setters for those things. Since these are private, we can't change those variables from within the driver. If I come up over here and I check my main code over here, I see that, yeah, that works now, right? I can create the bottle because I have the bottle class. But if I try to change the color of it, b.color equals blue, I can't do that because it's marked as private. So I'm going to have to add a set and a get for each one of those. Now I can do this in a hurry by letting Netbeans do it. I could click Refactor, encapsulate fields, check all the checkboxes, and that would add getters and setters for me. But I'm going to do them now by hand. So these are our getters and setters, more technically known as the accessors and mutators. And we need a pair for each one. Public string get color. And all it needs to do is return this dot color, semicolon, end brace. I have a syntax error there. What's going on? Well, that's odd. All right, and what did I do wrong here? This is supposed to be a method. It's not a C# property, which is where I was taking this in my head. So we need our parentheses. You know, we define our functions, our methods like that. Thank you. And I'm going to shorten the syntax of it down so that it fits all on one line.
Do you need this dot color on get color?
I don't need the this reference. I like using the this reference because we are going to need it on the setter.
Okay.
So then public void set color. And this one needs to take a parameter. String color. And we're going to say that this dot color equals color. Like that. Now we have two more to do. One for volume, or getter for volume and a setter for volume. Public double get volume, which return this dot volume, and public void set volume, which takes a parameter. Double volume, end parentheses, open brace, this dot volume equals volume. Do you have to do it in this kind of condensed style where you're putting it all in one line? No, and that's non-traditional. The only reason I do that is so that we can get as much as we can on the screen at the same time. Is that a really good excuse for doing it? Not necessarily. If you feel like spacing it out like that, that is a totally good way of doing it. Preferred, actually. I just did it so that I could get it all on one screen at the same time. So, your choice. What does the this reference mean and when do you use it? You use that keyword to indicate that whatever follows it is a member of the class. We know that this word here is not a member of the class because it does not have this dot in front of it. We could get away with taking this dot out of that one on the getter. We could also do the same for this dot volume, like that. Don't have to have it there. But we do have to have it here. Why? To distinguish between this variable and this parameter name. Otherwise, you just have color equals color. Notice that it doesn't know which one, so it's going to assume that we're talking about this parameter now rather than that, because this parameter name hides that member name. Could you give this one a different name and then avoid using the this reference? Yeah, you could. I like the this reference because you just type this dot and then the editor pops up a list of all the variables and the methods and makes it easier to type. Okay, so if we have done this correctly, then we should be good to go as far as compiling it, getting it to work. Here's what our entire class looks like. If I can get it on the screen, I'm going to remove these comments, color and volume. All right. So now I'm going to go back to my primary class, my main method. And we're going to use what we just did. Can I do b.color equals? No, but I can call the setColor method on it. b.setColor. This is a blue bottle. b.setVolume. And this one's containing 2. And we never said whether these are liters or gallons or whatever. Now let's make another bottle. Bottle B2 is equal to new bottle. And let's set its colors as well. B2.setColor. This is a white bottle. B2.setVolume. This one contains 100, whatever we're talking about. It might be a pretty big bottle if we're talking about liters or something like that. Now we're not printing anything out, so we don't know what our data currently looks like. But we can create a couple of print statements, right? System.out.println. I'm going to use printf instead. So volume equals percent F, comma, color equals percent S, backslash N. And then we need to fill in those placeholders. This one is the bottle's volume, and this one is the bottle's color. So this dot, nope, got to be get volume. This dot get, what am I doing? B dot get volume, and B dot get color. I'm going to break this stuff out so that they're on separate lines, right? And now I'm going to print the same stuff out for the second bottle. So just to save time, I'm going to copy those two lines, paste them, and make it B2.getVolume, B2.getColor. And then I'm going to run it and see what it does. So I click the green arrow here. Actually, what I usually do is I come up here and I click the hammer and broom. That compiles, builds it. If we look, it gives us all this information about what it actually made. It made a jar file. We'll talk at what a jar file is. It's just a file that contains all of the object files inside of a Java project. And then I click the green arrow, which actually runs it. And yes, one of my bottles has 2 and it's blue, and the second bottle has 100 and it's white. So we all get that going? Syntax errors we need. So the associated homework. Let's see, which class? We are on chapter 6, which is over objects and classes. That's the chapter you need to be reading. Hit the PowerPoints for it. If we go and we look at the PowerPoints for it, we see lots and lots of good stuff. Based on today's really short explanation, but I'm assuming that everybody who's taken a beginning Java course, if you've already taken it, then you should already know what a class is and what a variable is and what a method is. So what you're going to do is to create a class called rectangle, and it has 2 member variables, 2 instance variables named height and width. They need to be encapsulated, which means you make them private with getters and setters. You add a getArea method and a getPerimeter method. Now our bottle class didn't have any extra methods that go along with this idea. So we better go and think about what that would do, what that would look like in our class. I unfortunately can't think of a quickie to add to it. But just like getVolume here returns volume, what if we add another one? I'm just going to call it calculate. This is going to be a method called calculate. So I went back to my bottle class, and all it's going to do is return this dot volume times this dot volume. Right, that's dumb, but we have written a method now that returns a value based on data already stored in it. So your class is going to need a getArea, and a getPerimeter method. And the area of a rectangle is its height times its width. The perimeter of a rectangle is height plus width plus width. So if you can't figure those formulas out, go ahead and ask me. Then use that class in your client code in main to print out the area and the perimeter of a rectangle that is 20 by 30. Now if you want to do more and prompt the user for input and stuff like that, yeah, you can do that. But at the least, what the program needs to do is you could create a rectangle and hard code the values to 20 by 30. But if you feel like letting it, the users input that data by hand, the users in this case being you and me, then feel free to do that. So that is that homework assignment, and we will make that due next week. So if we go back to where we were, we have a couple of things that are due. One is that we need to upload what we typed in today into folder A. That's our first lecture, January 25. And I need to change that due date over there so that it is accurate. Actually, I think I'm just going to remove the due date whatsoever. We're going to go by the date that's written on the... There we go. I'll fix that later. Make it due a week from today. Then assignment 0 is to install Netbeans and turn in a Hello World type program. That should be easy for y'all. Everybody probably already has Netbeans. If you don't, you need to go out there and you need to install Netbeans, the version that that has the JDK in it, and write a Hello World program and then upload that to this folder. So we want to get that done by next Thursday, and we want to do our rectangle assignment as well as. So if I go and I look at the assignments in student mode, I should see 3 folders. Go ahead and upload what we did today. My rule of thumb is that if you feel like zipping the files, you can do that. If you feel like just dropping me the .java files, you can do that. The exception will be when we start creating graphical user interfaces. I'm going to need you to zip the whole project, no questions asked on those. But I'll make that clear when we get to that point. Alrighty, I think we're done today. Or do you have any questions?
Can I see that code just real quick?
Oh,
I
yes.
just want to make sure the return statement I have is right. I just want to
Well, well, I didn't actually test this one out, so I do hope that it works.
Yeah, no, I was just making sure I get like the idea of it.
Yeah. So everybody got it running? What should we do to actually make this more useful? It would have been better to like put a 2-string method in it that printed information out about the bottle. And did we talk about constructors last semester?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll hit them
That's
again.
when you make like inside of the bottle file something that says bottle. I'm not wording that correctly.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You can have a method named bottle that you use to build the class.